The other thing too is you got to understand that a lot of times when you have a principle that you're standing on something, not everybody have the same principles. So even though you feel you're doing the right thing and that you're willing to risk it all because this is your principle and I'm standing on this, other people principles do not align all the time. So if I don't see a benefit or if I don't have that same principle, then I can't move the same way that you move. The way that I see the world, the decisions that I make is not necessarily going to align with what you do. So that's why it's so important to know who you are. Like Marcus said, yeah, I walked away from an opportunity that could have set me up totally different. But guess what? I don't regret it because I knew what I was standing on, and that will never change for me. I made my livelihood somewhere else, so, a different way. And so you
You know,
have to respect that.
no, I'm not knocking it. As a matter of fact, it takes a lot of strength to do that. But
I
that's
was
why I
a
was
kid. I was a kid.
asking those probing questions as to, like, there are different avenues, but if nobody wants to take that avenue with you, nobody's willing to say, you know what, that's wrong. And the other problem that I have is actually with there's probably what, four white guys, which means there's eight other brothers on the squad that just kind of just squatted and accepted it, which is crazy to me. Um, we at some point have to stand on principle while beating them at their own game. And it was unfortunate that Marcus didn't have any other squad members to stand on that principle with him, so he had to do it the Ali route. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna play for this guy. Like Ali, Muhammad Ali is who I'm talking about. On principle, I'm not going to war, and it has actually nothing to do with with me maybe dying. It has to do with more brothers giving their life for a country that don't give a damn about them. That which is how he felt. And I can't knock you for that when when you got to stand on principle. I'm just
Well, I think
a
of
mindset. Go ahead.
Hey,
I
please.
think of I
Can
think
ask
so. I got two things to say. I think of war or going into the military is something totally different than I think that I don't look at it as you're doing it to, for necessarily white people or a country. A country is an entity. Like it's not, your family lives here too. So you don't want people raiding this place because it's going to affect your family if people raid the country. You know what I'm saying? So you have to fight. You have to have representation, just for that. But this is the problem. I get what the guy is saying, but this is where we as a people, black people, go wrong. African Americans, when I say black people. The shit we be fighting for is stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like I understand your point, Marcus. I understand your point, AP. But some of the stuff we be doing is so out of line. Like you can't think it's right. It's so wrong that it can't be right. You know what I'm saying? The stuff we fight for. Oh, you could fight against education. Who don't want to be smarter? Like who? Like you just want to walk around dumb on a fifth grade level all your life? Like, it's like this, the things that can, you fought to read. Now you can read. You don't want to read. How can you beat anybody being a dummy? Like it's just we end up dumbing down ourselves by fighting against things that can literally help you. You know what I'm saying? We talk about family structure. Oh, marriage is not, beneficial for me, but your kids do better. Like the stuff that we fight against, it's like
On point. Keep cooking. Keep cooking.
The solution for that would be this, right? I don't know if y'all remember a show, A Different World.
Mm-hmm.
So what they did was the image of black people was one that was cultivated kind of by the Cosby Show and A Different World to a large segment. They had the highest enrollments in HBCUs at the time. If a real solution was warranted, it would be to turn the image of black people our collective image to one of the most, like Neil Tyson Degrassi was a representative type of, like we were only the most highly educated. Within a generation or two, you would see an extreme shift. If people was like, "Oh, you acting like a white boy because you got an F. Are you acting like a white boy because you went to jail? Are you acting like?" If we shifted the way we perceive what's white and black socially, it would shift and switch all these things, because we can say people are individuals, but that example and many others in my life have shown me the majority of people are followers, and that's not race specific or gender specific. The
And then
majority of
too,
people are
and then
followers.
too, one of the things to point out, we have a way of glorifying wrong behavior. You know what I'm saying? Even at an early age, we glorify wrong behavior. Like, why are we doing this? Oh, you fight that girl, you know, like we glorify this stupidity, and it just makes you look even weaker. Like, why do we do that as a people? I mean, we talk about this every episode. I know. Look at our music. What are we doing?
It,
Stop. It is
so
so
when we
horrible.
So when we talk about propaganda and leverage and all those things, if you don't control your entity and likeness, then the person who's in control of it, specifically for people that are followers, is kind of in control indirectly through influence of how you perceive yourself, from the way you dress, which is why you see rappers wearing purses. Now you see men wearing purses. It was a skit on the Boondocks a while ago, right? And we got to that point. You see people wearing robber masks outside. Now you see random people just wearing masks like they're gonna hit a lick. Like, the amount of following that we do is ridiculous. And it's not specific to us. I'm saying, if we was able to somehow cultivate the collective, if we was in charge of our collective identity and it was only the highest esteemed academia, you'll be surprised how many kids graduated from the most prestigious universities and had some of the most prestigious careers, because we reframed what their identity was. A lot of us grew up, and to be black was, man, I want to be like Pac. I want to be like Big. I want to, like, in this new era, I want to be like Nipsey. I want to be like Jay-Z. I want to be like our icons. The people we look up to have a specific image. That image is what you tend to see through the pipeline on varying degrees. However, the person who's in charge of making sure that that gets pushed is directly controlling where we collectively go as of right now, because we are such followers.
Listen, I agree. I mean, imagine. I think that if we focus on it, I think that black people, if black people has got together and said, you know, education is important, it's popular. More people be educated. It has nothing to do with your ability. You want to do it. You know, if that was popping on the scene, more people want to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Speaking my language.
We praise this. Oh, you went to jail. Like, it give you some stripes or something. Like, what did you go for? Like, it's crazy how we praise the negative. We praise all these bad things, and we tend to knock things that are good. You know,
I've asked this question 1,000 times. How do you make
it's
positivity
crazy to me.
entertaining? How do you make positivity entertaining? Because we'll see on different platforms, like, people that complain if like on the Thursday show, that's the highest rated show with the most watched show, right? It requires contention, it requires chaos, it requires fighting to be that.
It's
Like,
like
we
the
be on
Jerry
here
Springer.
having a good time. Yeah. How do you make that entertaining to the bulk of people?
But I think, Marcus, I agree, because all of those things go hand in hand. But I think the problem is that it starts even before that. Because you say, well, how do you change the narrative? The narrative will change if you had families, right? So your kids are not going to be exposed to, like you said, the Jerry Springers, all of that, because you are active in the home. And I think that's the part that has gotten messed up. Like, growing up, like, hell, we grew up in the crack era. You know what I'm saying? We were such key kids. So I mean, and even then I look at, not to say that there weren't kids that grew up with trauma. Absolutely. Your parents are crackhead. You're going to grow up in some kind of trauma. You know what I'm saying? But I still think that, just from my experience, even though the parents were crackheads, guess what? Those same children was in church on Sunday, even if the mama wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it was more because there was more of a community, because you had more people who were like, raising their kids, even despite the fact that you were dealing with this epidemic of drugs. There was still a level of care and taking care of kids in the home. If they wasn't getting it directly in the home, there was the neighbor. There was somebody around. Where I think now
Grandparents.
is so different. Like when we snuck and watched TV. We knew we weren't allowed to be watching Video Music Box because of what was on there, what was being said, the music. And we snuck when our parents weren't there. But guess what? When they got home, we knew we couldn't
You
have
knew it was wrong.
Right.
So you wasn't bumping it with your parents. You knew you was sneaking to do it. It was
a
something
level of
about
distinction between what was expected, what we did and what was expected. And I think now the problem is that there is no line. There is no distinction. Like, I literally have been in a parent's home with a kid that literally cusses her out, where I had to say to the student, like, listen, I know you probably talk to your mother like that, but it's just so disrespectful. And it makes me so uncomfortable even just hearing you say that, because I would never. The fact that I had to say that to a kid because he's using F-bombs and telling her to F herself and leave him the F alone, and you can't tell me what the F to do. Like, that is crazy to me, but that's the generation that we're in. So it's not just the music, it's also the household,
the family dynamic, which comes back to whether, I don't care if you ain't getting married. Okay. If y'all decide to have a kid together, y'all need to raise the kid together in the same household. Because even one parent doing it for a amount of time, it can be, you can end up playing, the kid will play it against each other. You know what I'm saying? Unless y'all on the same page. You feel me? Like, we gotta bring the family back. Like, it's like mandatory.
I agree.
Can I make
A functional family.